welcome into the Hong Kong Fusion podcast with your hosts, Dave, Jack, and Tyler.
We're back for season 2. A
We've
man short
upgraded.
tonight. The production value of this podcast has skyrocketed in between seasons to a point that
It's true.
I believe it now eclipses Tyler's dedication to this podcast as well as Ed's overall commitment to the league.
You know, I agree. I can't believe we got Satan to introduce us to all the listeners.
Not as expensive as you'd
true
think
pull.
on Cameo. Yeah. It's good
Um,
stuff. Very nice.
Good to be
yeah.
back.
Good to be back. Shout out to GarageBand for the intro. It's good stuff. Can't believe it's free. And
Body
we'll have-
armor.
and body armor.
Stay hydrated, folks.
Shout out to last year's league champion, me.
Boo.
It's too small. That's why it's a pinky ring. But there's a larger one. Should be delivered via Amazon very soon. So I'll have it for the next
Congrats
get-together.
again.
Thank you.
Congrats again for the final time.
Yes. Now we can officially put it in the past. And we didn't have an end of season episode. So
We did not.
now all the people know who won officially.
This is true.
I won and Kyle didn't.
And it was
Anyway.
not even close, if memory serves me correctly.
It was not.
I believe his team pooped the bed.
Yeah. Well, it didn't help that 2 of his all-stars didn't get to play
That's right.
that final week. But I was up by like 8 million points, so
Yeah.
wouldn't have mattered. But anyway, we had a draft 2 days ago. Recording this on Wednesday, August 30th. I think that's the date. And
Can
we're
confirm.
gonna break down the draft. I'll throw the
So
draft board
I
up
just
here.
want to mention, we had sports-related trivia games throughout the spring and summer to determine our draft order. The previous season's winner gets to come up with a way for the other 9 of us to choose our draft slots. And what did we do this year? We did the Home Run Derby, the US Open golf version.
Yeah, we did the NBA Finals.
NBA Finals. That was my worst performance.
And we
then
did the NFL draft.
The NFL draft.
And I think we named those in reverse order of
I believe
when we
did.
actually did them. NFL
That's
draft.
That's how my
first.
memory works these
Yeah.
days.
Yeah, we're going backwards. But yeah, so Tyler won that. He elected to draft first. And then I think people started picking the end of the draft, I think towards like pick 5 or 6.
After me. So I picked 4th, and then I think TY had the 5th choice and went with 10.
Yeah. So that's how the draft shook out. We're gonna go through some of our favorite picks, some of our least favorite picks, and then we'll make some playoff predictions here. And maybe we'll have Tyler next week. Who knows?
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. So I drafted out of the 7th spot. That was what was left over for me after everyone picked. And I was really hoping that either Kelsey or Bijan Robinson went ahead of me, which I had a feeling would have left either Kupp or Tyreek Hill. And Kupp was the choice. So for me, I was hoping just to grab a couple wide receivers. I was really hoping to get a top quarterback, which you ended all of my hopes and dreams when you took Justin Herbert. We'll get to why I believe some other QBs went off the board earlier, but I'm overall fairly happy with my team. Would have loved top quarterback, but hopefully Anthony Richardson can find something early on.
Yeah, and I do want to call out to the new to the show viewers. There's a couple names in rounds 8, 9, 11, maybe that look like they don't belong. We have our keepers. So I think that to add to your strategy, you had Ramondre Stevenson as a
I
keeper in
did.
round 8, so it gave you a lot of flexibility to pick receivers early, which kind of inverted the flexibility for me because I had Chris Olave in round 9. Um, but with pick 4, I was hoping one of the top 3 would fall to me, Jefferson, McCaffrey, or Chase. But when they didn't, it was Tyreek Hill. I wanted to pair a top receiver with Olave, keep him as my second. And then my main strategy relied on Tony Pollard being there in round 2. I think he's going to finish as a top 3 running back, and to get him there was an easy choice. Um, and like you mentioned, I wanted one of those top 6 QBs, and I got the 6th one. So I got Herbert. Um, I almost took Lamar in round 4, but Gibbs fell to me, and I think he has too much upside to pass on there. And I had a feeling I could get Herbert because the drafter, there was only one person that needed a QB through the turn. It was just Tyler because Todd had a keeper of Burrow and Ed
That's right.
already had Mahomes. Yeah. So I
So
knew I'd get
basically
either
what you're
Jackson
saying,
or Herbert.
is if I took Gibbs instead of Mixon at 4-4, you probably would have took Lamar and then I may have gotten Herbert on the way back.
Correct.
So
Unless Tyler took Herbert. Yep.
yeah. So this is 100% my fault. Confirmed
It's
for
how
sure.
the cookie crumbles.
And that is how you end up with 3 quarterbacks on your team in a 1 QB league. So we'll see how that works out.
A lot of red down there.
Lot of red at the end of the draft. That is very true. Jack, give me favorite pick on your own team.
My favorite pick was Christian Watson. I believe he was the 28th receiver off the board. And I only know that because you said Deontay Johnson was 30th, and I took him 2 spots before. Um, I think
Spoiler
Christian
alert.
Watson. I think Christian Watson has possibly top 12 upside. Like if Jordan Love doesn't stink, Watson showed a lot of good things last year, but he also did have Aaron Rodgers. So definitely downgraded at QB, but I think at that point he's my 4th receiver. So I just I'd rather have him than like Pickens, Godwin, Judy. I'd rather have him than all those
Disgusting.
guys.
I agree.
Yeah.
I do agree. What I notice about your receivers, like Addison aside, your top 4, like they're all very capable of having those boom weeks. So I could certainly see you
Yeah.
like easily putting up some weekly high scores. $10 payout as a reminder for everyone.
This is
$10
true.
payout for the weekly high score. So yeah, and just a general note on like if anyone wants to be the treasurer of the league, so I don't feel like I have to win the league to only lose $250 at the end of the year. Like I'm more than happy to send all of the league fees your way and have you distribute. But yeah, my favorite pick, my team was Deontay Johnson, confirmed wide receiver 30 off the board. And do you remember how many touchdowns he scored last year?
Do. It was 0.
It was 0. So there's no way that can happen again. I think Pickett will take a step. All sophomore quarterbacks do, especially when it comes to touchdowns. So he's not going to score 0 for sure. And I think wide receiver 30, I don't see how he finishes below ADP unless he gets hurt. So
Yeah, I
I
agree
really
with that.
liked being able to pair him with AJ Brown and Metcalf, who I feel like are also kind of boom or bust some weeks. Although we know AJ Brown is a inhuman, crazy person and will dominate.
Yes, he will.
I'm excited for the Eagles
Unguardable.
to maybe have to play a little bit in the second half this year. They have a much tougher schedule.
Yeah, it should be much more entertaining from a game watching perspective,
Yeah,
and
I
probably
agree.
also frustrating.
That's true. Should be fun though. I'll kind of stay on Eagles here. We were also talking about questionable picks, and I chose Kyle at the 3-5, Jalen Hurts. And to be totally clear, I don't think that was a bad pick, but since I said what we're talking about was questionable picks, it's questionable for me because he kept Deshaun Watson in the 14th. So that feels like just an immediate drop of Deshaun Watson, which I also find funny that now he basically held Watson through a suspension year on his bench,
Yeah,
lost the
and
championship
now
for the
he's
record, and then is probably not going to use him. So I thought that was funny.
right.
Good pick. Unfortunately, contributed to the fact that I did not get to get a top 6 quarterback. So probably also why I'm a bit salty about it, but questionable
Would
nonetheless.
you have would you have picked Jalen Hurts at 3-7?
I would have felt obligated to run it back with AJ Brown and Hurts like I had last year,
Yeah,
although it would have made me sad not to have DK Metcalf on my team.
but I think if Kyle probably would have picked Metcalf, I would think, if he didn't take Hurts.
I would have loved to have Jalen Hurts on my team, that's for sure.
Yeah. So mine's a little different. My questionable pick is Waller at the 30th overall. Um, I think he's gonna be good. I just don't know if I want him instead of guys like Ken Walker, Amari Cooper, Gibbs, DJ Moore even. Um, I don't know. And even over Kittle and Hawkinson, I can see a path where he's, the tight end 3. I just think it was a little bit early. Um, but again, if you want your guy, like TY would not have gotten Darren Waller in his next set of picks.
He no, he definitely would not have because
Right.
I was for sure taking him at the 5-7 if he was there. I got him there
Yeah.
in every one of my mocks. So to see him go off the board at 310 was definitely surprising and also filled with pain. That led me to totally tilt pick Hawkinson at the 6-4, which for the second year in a row, I have tilt picked TJ Hawkinson. This year it was on the basis of I don't want to totally write him off because he burned me last year. So I feel like you can definitely get yourself in trouble by ignoring like a good situation only because the player hurt you and then he
Yeah.
hurts you by you not having him. So hopefully um, his ear infection is resolved soon and he's back doing team drills. But that was tough at the 6-4. It was a combination of all the mocks I did. I was able to get Waller at a good spot, and Pete totally sniped me with Chris Godwin at the pick before.
Mm.
He was the only one in my queue at that time, and I'm pretty sure there was like 4 wide receivers above him in ADP. So that totally threw me.
Yeah, I think it's good value on Hawkinson though. I don't know. If you want, and my strategy for tight end was either one of the top 5 or the 10th. So I think Hawkinson's the last of that 5 or the 4th. Him and Waller are like a toss up. It's just Waller probably has the upside that Hawkinson doesn't. Like Waller
I would
could,
agree.
I could see Waller actually being like the tight end 2, where Hawkinson will probably not be better than like tight end 4.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Uh, yeah. So my tilt pick wasn't, I don't want to say I tilted into it, but Gibbs at the 4-7 was just there. And I hadn't gotten him in any mock drafts, like because he had been taken. So I really like rookie running backs. But the problem with taking Gibbs for me was that in every draft I was taking Montgomery at the 8-7, and I wasn't gonna take both Lions running backs, obviously. So it just made me have to change like my whole strategy later in the draft. Um, and you can see I didn't pick a running back for 6 rounds after that.
That
But that was like
checks out.
that was like a plan. So um, and then I guess like my tilting pick was Odell Beckham. He was like 30 spots past ADP and just sitting there and like I don't know. So Tyler was like, "What if he's good again?" And that like got in my head, and I was like, "He is good at football, or was at least."
He definitely
And he's
was good at
only
football.
30. 30's kind of old, but he's only 30.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, we'll see. That was definitely the pick for me that I was like, I don't know why I'm clicking this button, but I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
So
I mean, 13th round,
yeah, you could do worse.
you could definitely do worse. Like
Right.
Kyle did by immediately selecting Ezekiel Elliott.
Right. Washed up old NFC East stars back to back.
In that same round,
Speaking
Pete
of
actually took Sam Laporta as his tight end 1. He definitely could have waited
yes.
until the 17th round for him.
Well, it
But
looks like no other tight ends were selected.
yeah, you're right. I mean, when you have conviction in a rookie tight end, I say this as I drafted Dalton Kincaid literally 1 pick before him.
Right. But as your backup.
Yeah. And he's also a wide receiver, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, but yeah, so I'll
Talk
get into the
about,
next one, best value pick. For me, it's Mike Evans at the 9-5 by Kyle. Um, Mike Evans has 1,000 yards literally every year he's played football,
yes, he does.
and there's no way he'll finish as I don't even know what that is, the wide receiver 41.
Looks to be
Like,
high
there's no
30s,
way.
low 40s. Yeah. Yeah.
I'll be shocked if he's not a top 25 receiver this year, just because Mayfield throws a good deep ball. Evans is going to still score touchdowns. I don't know. I think at that spot, it's just like so much better than Traylon Burks or Gabe Davis, Brandon Cooks, who just went a couple picks later.
Yeah. No, I like Evans a lot in that spot. And uh, both Bucks wide receivers I got sniped on. I definitely prefer Godwin in the 6th over Evans in the 8th or 9th. But
Mm-hmm.
when I didn't get Godwin, I was going to be more than happy to get Evans. And once again, just missed by a couple picks. But I really liked your selection of Marvin Mims in the 14th. You tilt picked Odell and then came back super strong in the 14th with Marvin Mims. Um, obviously, I had to get Sutton early on. It's my boy.
Yes, you
But I
did.
can certainly see Marvin Mims having a better season than Cortland Sutton, which will excite me for Marvin Mims and also crush any hopes of Cortland Sutton ever being relevant. And I'll probably draft him next year anyway.
Yeah, Marvin Mims is good. Like, I watched one of their preseason games, and that dude, I know he's probably not playing against top corners, but sometimes you can just tell, and he definitely passes the early sniff test
Yeah,
for good at the football.
he is good at the football. I think it's also telling that Sean Payton comes into Denver, no 1st-round pick, obviously because of the Russell Wilson trade,
Mm-hmm.
and seemingly with a okay enough wide receiver room, takes a wide receiver in the 2nd round in
Traded
Marvin
up,
Mims.
I believe. Traded up to get him.
Yeah, so he could be good. He was drafted to be great, so we'll see.
I
Any
look
other
forward to
draft
having
thoughts?
I look forward to having Marvin Mims for the first 4 years of his career.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's a scary proposition for me and for everyone else if he does well. Um, speaking of keepers, I could potentially have Kyler Murray for like the next 5,
You could.
possible,
Well,
or I could have Anthony
or
Richardson for 2.
yeah. Yeah, let's see. Anyone else? Dotson's really good in the 11th round. I
Dotson
know
is
we
really good in
mentioned
the 11th. Yeah.
he could have picked Lockett in the 9th or Dotson in the 11th. I actually think he made the right decision, even though I originally thought Lockett. I think Dotson's probably the right choice because you can keep him next year
Yeah,
and
that's true.
he's good.
He is good. And Terry McLaurin, I think, has turf toe. So that's going to
Yes,
slow him
that does
down.
not go away.
Yeah, I think either of those keepers would have been pretty solid for him. So I don't hate it. I mean, I definitely love Garrett Wilson for Ed and Chris Olave for you in the 9th better than Dotson in the 11th. That feels
Yeah.
a tad unfair, but that's what happens when you draft a gem in the late round.
That
So
right.
good work. All right. Any final thoughts on the draft board here? Before we get into some playoff predictions.
I don't think so. I do think that the best overall pick was probably, I don't know
Justin
where I'm going
Jefferson
with this.
at the 101.
Probably that's what I was thinking. Justin Jefferson. Like I don't think he screwed it up. I think he made the right decision.
Yeah. Do we want to chronicle like the past month before the draft? Tyler's mindset since he's not here.
When he decided on the first overall pick, it was literally to take Christian McCaffrey.
Yep. He posted in the chat well before it was required for him to decide that he was locking in the 101. And within 10 minutes, I think the group message between the three of us said, I have no idea who I'm taking between CMC and Justin Jefferson. So he had conviction on the pick.
He
He
did.
then did 58,000 mocks until he decided which one he liked better. So
Yep.
we'll
And
see.
then he didn't pick any running backs.
First one he did pick is going to be out for 3 games. So
I hope I
that's
play him week 1, even though I know I don't.
that's a
But
tough first running back to take when you know you won't have him for 3 weeks. Tough for a 0 RB build.
yes.
And he did miss out on Kendre Miller by 1 pick in the 14th. That seemed like that
Yep.
pick would have made sense.
Right, to fill in for the first 3
Yeah.
weeks at least.
Yeah. But good pick by Ed there. All right, well,
Yep.
getting into playoff predictions, I'll give Tyler's here. So Tyler went with Jack, himself, me, and Nicholas. I really like Nick's team, but after his top 2 receivers, it feels really shaky. But I mean, he arguably has the number 1 QB, tight end, and possibly wide receiver. I think Amon-Ra St. Brown could certainly be wide receiver 1 overall with the amount of balls he's catching.
Yep.
For that team,
Yeah.
for me, it's all about Pickens or Quentin Johnson, like hitting in a big way. And if they do, I think Nick is a lock for playoffs.
Yeah,
So
I
like that
agree.
pick.
I think it might be a slow start for him potentially, just because Williams don't know if he's 100%. And then, like you said with Johnston and even Bigsby, like he has a couple rookies and coming back from injury players. But he has Travis Kelce, which is helpful to dominate at tight end. It doesn't really matter if your second flex stinks because you can rebound very easily when Travis Kelce scores 90 and Sam Laporta scores 1.
That's definitely possible. Shout out to Nick's 7th running back, by the way, Kareem Hunt, who apparently is showing up to workouts fatter than me at the moment. So tough look for Kareem Hunt's brand there. Tyler was the only one to choose himself, or that has conviction in his team. I went Jack with your team, my own team, Heat, as well as TY. You called out the Waller pick as a bit early. I agree. I also love it because I was really high on Waller going into this year. I really love Chubb, really love Connor, although I do love Connor a lot less now that Clayton
Yeah.
Tune or Josh Dobbs may be the starter. But I think TY's team, I mean, he's got Josh Allen and Devontae Adams. That should always give a team a chance. And I do
For
like Pete's
sure.
team. He sniped me a couple times. It was not super fun drafting next to him. I'm going to be honest. He definitely got me a few times.
I like it. So I went with my team, Kyle's team, Ed's team, and also Nick's team. I think we talked about Nick's team enough. Ed's team, I think me and him had probably the biggest advantage with keepers. With
Would
Olave and
agree.
Garrett Wilson in round 9, you being a close second. Or third, I guess. Shout out to math. Um, I like Ed's start of McCaffrey, Smith, and Mahomes. And then I also really like his pick of Brees Hall. I think if Hall is healthy by like week 7 or 8, we're looking at like a monster stack at running back for Ed. Um, there's a bit to be desired at his second or at his third receiver, but I think he has enough guys where he'll be able to figure it out. So that would be my choices for playoffs, and Kyle because he always ends up in the playoffs. Draft Kyle's players in your other leagues.
Yeah, he does seem to always end up in the playoffs. I don't know. This could be the year though that Kyle maybe doesn't make the playoffs. I mean, we talked about McLaurin's injury. We Tyler had some hot stats on wide receiver ones on their team on low passing
Yeah,
offenses or low volume passing offenses. So, who knows what DeAndre Hopkins will do there. Although Treylon Burks is injured, and Kyle Phillips, wide receiver 3 for the Titans, if anyone knows that name, also on
I have him
IR.
on a team. I have him on a dynasty team. I'm aware that he's on IR.
Yeah, yeah. Apparently though, he's not on IR yet because I couldn't move him into my R slot, which I wasn't super happy about. Fantrax.
I still had him in the
All
minors or whatever it's called, taxi squad.
Yeah, if Fantrax can get on that, I know you're listening, so get Kyle Phillips with an IR designation so I can move him there. Yeah, all right, good stuff. Well, a little bit of a shorter episode this week, and next week we'll be looking at week 1 matchup preview. Spoiler alert, that's going to be a championship rematch between me and the aforementioned Kyle. We'll talk about some player takes for 23 season 2023 and also DFS. Definitely excited to continue to make Tyler lose every week and see what garbage team he comes up with. But Jack, any final thoughts here after the draft review?
Yeah, we'll just have to figure out what our punishment's going to be this year. See how many masks we can acquire and accumulate because they're not returnable or for whatever reason.
I still have that
Um,
like 1820s doctor mask with the big point coming out of the nose. Yeah. Well, if you have any suggestions, Jack, you set up an email. Why don't you tell the people where
yeah,
they can email suggestions or mailbag questions?
yeah, we're very advanced here. So
Production
we're
value.
optimistic. We're optimistic that you'll be able to find this episode on YouTube. Um, we don't know for sure, but we're optimistic.
We'll let you know at the beginning of
And
episode 2.
and if you have any questions, you can email us at hkfpod@gmail.com. We now have a brand hub.
There we go. Building the brand. All right. Well, good stuff. And we'll be back next week, leading into week 1 of the 2023 NFL season.
We're back.
We're back, baby.
Thanks for listening to the Hong Kong Fusion Podcast. Send your mailbag questions to hkfpod@gmail.com, and we'll see you next week.